What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Flame Entertainment and Sports. It's your boy Rob here. Hope everyone's doing good out there. Make sure to keep up with us on Instagram and TikTok at the Flame_ES. I want to thank everybody who's enjoyed our content over the weekend as we covered, the Kansas City Chiefs playoff game as they beat the Houston Texans. We posted a lot of clips on there of Taylor Swift, of Travis Kelce, of Taylor and Caitlin Clark, and a lot of good content. I want to thank everyone for the love and support on there. I love creating that content for you guys out there, and I really appreciate all the interaction and love that you guys have shown our way on there on Instagram at the Flame_ES. And, we also covered the presidential inauguration, which occurred on Monday. Congratulations to President Donald Trump, as he, is not only the 45th president, but is now officially the 47th president of the United States. Congratulations to J.D. Vance as well, our new vice president. And, I just wanted to make sure to, start off by congratulating them and, to say I'm super excited for what's ahead for our country. I think there's going to be a huge turnaround. A lot of people are going to be happy. And, it's always a blessing to be an American. And as always, God bless America. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all that content. With the inauguration specifically, we put in the clip of, when Donald Trump officially became president. And we also put a couple of clips of Carrie Underwood. As during his ceremony, she performed "America the Beautiful," and there was some glitches, some things off, some technical difficulties, and she had to do it a cappella type of version, with no music or sound in the background, and she absolutely hit it out of the ballpark. She proved why she's a superstar and why people love her. She's one of the best singers of all time, and I'm excited to see her back on our TV screens in March as she returns to American Idol, which she won, many years ago. And now she'll be coming on as a judge in place of Katy Perry. But yeah, congratulations again to President Trump, to his family, to Vice President Vance and his family. Congratulations to Carrie Underwood on doing an incredible job. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all that content we put out, between Sunday and Monday, I would say. And with that said, on this episode, we're going to be starting off, as always, in the entertainment world. We're going to be giving some thoughts and some updates, specifically on the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, lawsuit. And then we're also going to be talking about, Taylor Swift, as she attended Travis Kelce's playoff win against Houston on Saturday afternoon. And then we're going to be heading into the sports world and transitioning, perfectly into that Chiefs Houston game. And we're, going to give some thoughts on the other games that occurred between Washington and Detroit, the Rams and the Eagles. And we're also going to dive into that final game on Sunday where we saw the Bills take down the Baltimore Ravens. And then I'm going to give my predictions as well, for the NFC Championship game between the Commanders and Eagles, and the AFC Championship game between the Bills and the Chiefs. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Once again, make sure to keep up with us on Instagram and TikTok at the Flame_ES. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Share with anyone you think would, enjoy hearing about any of these topics. And as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, let's get into this episode, starting off in the entertainment world with a huge update and the lawsuit drama between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively. All right, guys, so in the entertainment world, we're going to be getting into a couple of topics here. I want to start off with some Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively talk. We've been kind of covering it on here, a couple episodes here on the podcast, and, there's been some recent developments in the lawsuit battle. Obviously, Blake originally filed the first lawsuit against Justin and his team. Then, Justin recently fired back with a lawsuit of his own for $400 million, suing Blake, suing Ryan Reynolds, and suing a couple other people there, a publicist, I believe, and stuff like that. And, now in recent days, specifically on Tuesday, Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman, I'm sure a couple of you guys know him already at this point through, he's been doing a couple podcast interviews, and, he went on the Megyn Kelly show a couple of weeks ago. He released a video yesterday, I believe, to TMZ, and we posted it on Instagram, at the Flame_ES. So make sure to go check it out when you have a chance there. But yeah, basically, it's so in Blake's original lawsuit, right, against Justin, one of the accusations is that they're filming a scene and he sexually harassed her by sniffing her neck and telling her she smelled good. And then, basically, Justin and his team now with this video, they fire back. They, the lawyer, Brian Friedman, he released the video, when they're filming that specific scene for the movie. And you clearly see that Blake tells Justin that she smells like spray tan, you know, and then he's like, "Oh, it smells nice though." And then yes, he does, like, it looks like he smells her neck, but that's part of the scene because they do play love interest in the movie. So based off of the video, it kind of looks like, in this video specifically, it looks like Blake was, kind of wrong here with her claims, and that Justin, um, he had the proof here with this specific part of the lawsuit. But that said, obviously there's a lot more to be done. This is simply one clip, right, that has been shown as evidence here from Baldoni's team, and ultimately, we're gonna have to wait and see. It's kind of gonna be a day-to-day type of trial or type of case, and who knows if it'll, eventually go to court, right? And it'll be kind of like a Johnny Depp and Amber Heard situation where people are tuning in to watch their court battles every day and stuff like that. Who knows if it'll get to a point, like that. In this case, I think it will. My prediction is that eventually they'll have to settle this in the courtroom, and it'll be like we're watching a reality show basically. I remember going back to that Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, a couple of years ago. I remember I would literally tune in if I was able to. Obviously, I wasn't able to tune in live every time. When I was able to tune in live, I would tune in live, and it was just like I felt like I was watching a movie. And especially you add in the fact that these are actors and actresses that we're talking about here. It literally looks like they're part of a movie. So it'll be obviously it's not an ideal situation for any of the parties involved, right? To have to not only just the lawsuit part, but then to have to take it to court and kind of make it public, and then your kids have to see it, and your family members get affected by all that stuff. But ultimately, we just want the truth to come out and the truth to prevail. Obviously, I don't know all the details. None of us out here really know. We can speculate and have our opinions based off of things that have come out. But at the end of the day, the ones who really know are Blake, her team, Justin and his team, and God, right? So ultimately, what I could do on here in terms of talking about that topic, as I stated, I believe last week or the week before, is that I just want to state the facts on here. I'm not here to sway you in any side. I'm not here to be like, oh, Team Blake, Team Justin, Team whatever. I'm not here to do that, because ultimately this is a serious legal battle going on. This isn't just like a little gossip type of blind item rumor stuff. And speaking of blind items, actually, before I move on from Justin and Blake here, so there's recent blind items coming out from NT Lawyer on CrazyDaysAndNights.net that allegedly Blake might have caught some feelings while on set of It Ends With Us for Justin, and that allegedly those feelings may have not been reciprocated back from Justin to Blake, and perhaps that's why she got mad at him. Those are just some blind items that came out. Obviously, you take it blind items specifically, you take it with a grain of salt, right? Ultimately, we don't really know the truth, but I just thought I would put that out there because I found it interesting. Because I do listen to NT Lawyer a lot. I listen to some interviews he does weekly. But the fact that now he made this into a blind item, I think, kind of raises his opinion on the whole, situation at hand, right? So if you guys want to go see the blind item for yourself, make sure to head to CrazyDaysAndNights.net, or you could also go on Google. You could search Blake Lively, CrazyDaysAndNights.net, or Justin Baldoni, CrazyDaysAndNights.net, and the blind item should pop up. It'll probably be one of the first things that you'll see pop up there on Google. But yeah, this whole Blake and Justin case, like I said, it's just it's unfortunate overall for their loved ones and everyone involved. But at the end of the day, yeah, we just want the truth to prevail on this podcast. That's what we're looking for. Not looking for side with anyone here. Ultimately, we really don't have all the proof, as I keep saying. So yeah, but now to move on and to go into another topic in the entertainment world that will eventually lead us into the sports section of today's episode of the podcast. So this past Saturday, the first divisional playoff game of the NFL, second round of the playoffs, was between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. In Kansas City, the Chiefs came out victorious. Travis Kelce had a legendary game. He broke the record for the most 100-yard receiving games in NFL playoff history, passing the guy who's known as arguably the greatest receiver of all time, and Jerry Rice, who had 8 games with 100 yards in his playoff career. And now Travis has eclipsed him with 9 career playoff games of over 100 receiving yards. I know last year, too, Travis broke a couple of Jerry's records. I believe it was for most touchdowns in playoff history and most receptions, I believe, in playoff history. So, Travis and Patrick Mahomes, they continue to do their thing and continue to build their case as the greatest quarterback slash weapon duo in NFL history. And the Chiefs got it done. Obviously, this portion is entertainment, so I wanted to talk about Taylor Swift, that she was in attendance at the game along with her brother, along with her father Scott, her mother Andrea, and also in attendance in the same suite as the Kelces and the Swifts, where it was Caitlin Clark, the best women's basketball player in the world right now. I thought that was super cool to see Caitlin and Taylor. We posted a couple clips on them on Instagram. At a certain point in the game, they were sitting next to each other, so we have some pretty cool content. And for those of you who have liked all the, we put out a lot of content during that game of Taylor and Travis, and I appreciate all the love and support you guys have shown to us there on Instagram at the @flame_es. But yeah, me personally covering these games where, it's a Chiefs game and I know Taylor's going to be there, I just have such a good time doing it. Like, obviously, I've always been a big, NFL fan, big entertainment fan. But when you put both of my worlds together, and I just enjoy it like crazy, because obviously I'm watching the game and enjoying it, but at the same time, I'm recording, if Taylor's on or if Travis makes a big play or something, I'm recording that. And then I'm also, on Twitter as well, seeing if, people at the stadium are posting, clips that we won't see on TV. So I'm able to post that as well. I just have a fun time doing that every single game. So it was a big joy being able to do that this past Saturday. And, God willing, I'm looking forward to doing it this coming Sunday night as the Chiefs play host to the Buffalo Bills for the AFC Championship. And, it was just great to see Taylor. And, we are in the entertainment world, so it's pretty cool. It's going to be, Josh Allen, who's, recently engaged to Haley Steinfeld, against Travis Kelce, who obviously is dating Taylor Swift. So, we have some even more entertainment and involvement in this next coming game between Buffalo and Kansas City. So I wanted to make sure to talk about Taylor, being there at Travis's game, and the fact that her whole family was there as well just speaks volumes, I think, as to, how much they all love each other. And, seeing Travis's family there as well, Jason, Ed Kelce, Donna. And also, speaking of Donna, someone who was in attendance with Donna is Brooke Shields, who's obviously, a beloved actress and a model for many, many years. It was cool to see Brooke Shields there as well, with Donna Kelce. We posted a couple of things of Brooke on our Instagram as well, and she posted a pretty cool selfie with Donna, and they're on their way to the game, I believe, like in one of those sprinter vans type of things. So that was pretty cool. And, speaking of Brooke, shout out to her. I don't know if I've ever talked about her on the podcast, but, she's obviously a legend, like I said, in acting and modeling and everything. And, to me, she's one of the most beautiful women to ever live. And, she actually recently came out with a book, and, it seems like a great book. And she's actually having a book event here on Sunday. I'm kind of 50-50 in terms of how it go, because the event starts at 5:00. But it's all the way in Miami Beach. And then where I live, I would say it'll probably take me half an hour or maybe even more to get there. And then the Kansas City game starts at 6:30. So I don't know if I'd be able to make it back in time to my house for kickoff. And obviously I don't want to miss any of the action. I don't want to miss anything of Taylor. So, we're going to have to wait and see on that. But regardless, any of you guys here in Miami listening, she's having a book event at the Adrian Arch Center on Sunday at 5:00. So, shout out to Brooke Shields and congratulations to her on the new book. And, recently she also had a brand new movie, a big time hit on Netflix called Mother of the Bride. And, she stars alongside Miranda Cosgrove from iCarly, Chad Michael Murray from One Tree Hill, Rachel Harris from The Hangover. And, the list goes on. Oh, Benjamin Pratt as well from Modern Family. So, it's a great cast, great movie. So you guys make sure to check that out as well. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up here, in the entertainment section of the podcast. And now, speaking of Kansas City, speaking of Taylor, and speaking of Travis Kelce, we're going to move on into the sports world. We're going to be covering the NFL playoff divisional round. I'm going to be giving my predictions for, this coming Sunday's conference championships between the Chiefs and Bills and between the Commanders and Eagles. And I'll be giving some quick thoughts as well on the Jimmy Butler Miami Heat trade drama. All right, guys. So today on the sports section, we're going to primarily be focusing on the NFL playoffs. I may mention a little bit about Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat towards the end of this sports segment. But yeah, we're going to really be, getting into the NFL playoffs. That's kind of the biggest topic in the sports world I want to focus on right now. this past weekend we had our 4 divisional games. I went 2-2 with my predictions on Saturday. I won both games. I had Kansas City defeating Houston, and I had the Commanders defeating the Detroit Lions. And then on Sunday, I went 0 for 2. I had the Rams beating the Eagles, and then I had the wow, the Ravens beating the Bills. So I had a little brain fart there. So yeah, I'm gonna start off with the first game that occurred in the divisional round on Saturday afternoon between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs win this one 23-14. Although the score was really 23-12. But on the Chiefs, on their last snap of the game, they decided to run into the end zone. Their punter ran into the end zone, so therefore it was a safety, and gave Houston 2 more points. But it was really 23-12 for anyone who was watching the game. And this game, basically from start to finish, the Chiefs were in control. I don't think it shocked most people. I think this is kind of what most people expected, or at least this is what I expected. Yeah, I'm not here to talk about what other people thought, but in terms of my perspective going into the game, I'm not shocked by how the game finished or how the outcome ended up being. As I stated, I had Kansas City winning this game, and it was just they controlled it from start to finish, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. I thought both teams did an incredible job. Kansas City, led by their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, the best defensive coordinator in the NFL. He proves it year in and year out. He's always able to adjust. He's always able to, get each player on his defense to succeed, right? He puts each player in the best position possible for them to be their best selves. And I think that's something that is rare to find. And, super special what Spagnuolo's been able to do with that defense every year. And, especially in the playoffs, they always rise to the occasion. And, the defense led by George Karlaftis, the young defensive end, he had a tremendous game. He had 3 sacks in this game. For those of you who haven't seen the episode from 2 weeks ago where I gave my predictions for the whole playoffs, I have Karlaftis actually getting 3.5 sacks in the Super Bowl and being named the Super Bowl MVP for the Chiefs. So it was cool to see Karlaftis, in his 2025 playoff debut, have the best game of his career. And yeah, Karlaftis was super impressive. Then, of course, in the middle of that defensive line, as always, Chris Jones is leading the way. Then you look into, the secondary. You had some of these young corners that the Chiefs are able to find year in and year out. They just do a great job. And like I said, a lot of that has to do with Spagnuolo knowing exactly where to put each of these guys to help them, succeed to the best of their abilities. But one of the guys I really want to highlight there in the secondary is Trent McDuffie, their all-pro corner who they drafted out of Washington a couple of years ago. And McDuffie, each year in his career, he's continued to, excel and progress upward. He's continued to get better game in and game out. And I think this past Saturday's game against Houston, it kind of solidified him as, one of the rare elite quarterbacks in all of football. I mean, also, when you add in the fact that the Chiefs, this past offseason, they lost L'Jarius Sneed, who, was an amazing corner for them. He went to the Tennessee Titans, and, this year they're able to just regroup and, continue to be a great defense and to be even better than last year, to be honest with you. But that kind of shows, that coaching goes a long way. And it's not necessarily that each of these guys are really, maybe they're not each like superstar players, but perhaps, a lot of it in Kansas City is, about fit and, about Spagnuolo knowing where to put these guys on defense. And the same goes for Andy Reid on offense. And, get into the offense really quick. It was another legendary performance for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce had his best game of the whole season. And, yeah, he just did a tremendous job. He had a couple of those plays where he broke tackles and he ran for over 20 yards. We hadn't really seen that out of Travis since last year's playoff. And yeah, it's just incredible how year in and year out, Travis just continues to rise to the occasion. The biggest games, the biggest moments, he's there for you. He's coming through and he's going above and beyond. And the same goes for, Patrick Mahomes. They're arguably the best duo, best quarterback. So I don't know how to, obviously Travis is a tight end, but I guess you could call it best quarterback weapon duel in NFL history. You could definitely make an argument and a great case for Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And it's not just in the regular season, but especially in the playoffs. You know, when it matters most, they're gonna come through for you. Let me open up here because I know Travis last year he broke a couple playoff records, and then this past Saturday already he broke another postseason record. Let me put it up here. I believe he broke a record. Let me see. Okay, let me read his stats and then the record. Okay, so Travis finished the game with 7 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. And that marks his ninth career 100-yard game in the postseason. And then it says here, Kelce broke a record set by legendary 49ers wideout Jerry Rice, who had eight straight eight playoff performances with 100 yards. So yeah, Kelce passed Jerry Rice for the most 100-yard games in NFL playoff history. For those of you that don't know, Jerry Rice is known as arguably the greatest receiver of all time. So the fact that Travis not only passed him, but to pass him as a tight end is just absolutely remarkable. I know last year, I believe he passed him in like postseason touchdowns, I think it was, and postseason receptions, I want to say. So yeah, Travis just continues to, make history. You know, a lot of people have been calling for his downfall. They've been saying he's too old, he's too slow, he has to retire. And then he comes out here in this playoff game and he shows the world that he's still the best at what he does. And I'm super happy for Travis. But that said, really quick, before I continue on with this game, I want to show you guys really quickly something that I purchased a couple weeks ago. I've been meaning to show it on here, but I think now's the perfect time after, Travis had this legendary playoff game. I recently bought this action figure of Travis. I think you guys can see it here. I bought it. I was in a store in Georgia, actually, for New Year's. And it was a sports store. I happened to see, this Travis action figure. And I was like, I got to get it. Especially, like I really enjoy covering him and Taylor, here on the podcast and on Instagram as well at the flame_ES. And, it's been a joy covering them these almost 2 years, really. Or 2 seasons, I mean. So yeah, shout out to Travis on a tremendous game. And yeah, the Chiefs now will move on, and on this coming Sunday they'll play host to the Buffalo Bills, and we'll get a rematch of the AFC Championship, I believe, from I want to say was it the 2020? I think 2020, like January of 2020. So yeah, we'll get Josh Allen against Patrick Mahomes. But before we get into that game, I want to talk about the second divisional game on Saturday night, which was the Washington Commanders heading into Detroit to face off against the 1-seeded Detroit Lions. And the Washington Commanders got the job done. They absolutely dominated the Lions from start to finish. It was another historic performance by Jaden Daniels, who continues to make a case that he is the best rookie quarterback in NFL history. My favorite attribute about this guy is that he's always super calm and composed. You never see him, nervous. You never see him panicking. You never see him mad at his teammates. You never see him down on himself. He's just always calm and composed, and he just continues to do a tremendous job. I know most people had Detroit winning this game. They're kind of, they've kind of been, I guess, America's darling the last couple of years. Obviously, it's a cool story. They've been horrible for so many years. They've been around since like the 50s or 60s, and never won a Super Bowl. Now, in the last couple of years with Dan Campbell, at the helm, they've been able to turn it around and have their best seasons in franchise history, including this season. They had the most regular seasons most regular season wins they've ever had, and then they come out and lay an egg at home as the number 1 seed in the NFC. Obviously, it was an ugly showing for Detroit in terms of all the expectations. For those of you who listened to the podcast last week, I had Washington winning this game. As I said last week, I just felt that Washington, I had more, confidence in them as a team, as a whole. Right now, I felt they're more built for the playoffs right now than Detroit was. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Washington game. And now Washington will head in to Philadelphia for the NFC Championship. It will be Washington's first time in the NFC Championship since 1991. So it's the first time in my lifetime that I'll get to witness Washington, in the NFC Championship. So congratulations to them. And yeah, they'll be heading into Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, they played in the first game on Sunday in the divisional round. They defeated the LA Rams, who I had making it to the NFC Championship in my original playoff predictions alongside the Tampa Bay Bucks. So yeah, the Eagles beat the Rams 28-22. The Eagles, they've had, obviously 2 playoff wins. You can't take it away from them. But I'm still not fully convinced. I know I could sound crazy because at the end of the day, all you have to do here is win, and that's what the Eagles are doing. But I still feel at one point or the other, there's gonna be a certain explosion or a certain bad decision by Nick Sirianni that will end up biting them in the butt. You know what I mean? There's just something about Nick Sirianni. I don't fully trust him as a coach. I feel a lot of times with his decision making, he's kind of trying to make it about himself, and he seems kind of hard headed. Obviously, a lot of people are hard headed and stuck in their ways, and it is what it is. But there's just something that throws me off about Nick Sirianni, and I feel at some point the Eagles, this little rundown is kind of going to end, and I feel that's going to happen this Sunday as I have the Washington Commanders. I have them beating the Philadelphia Eagles and heading to the Super Bowl. A season after being the second worst team in the league and having the second overall pick in the draft. Of course, they draft Jaden Daniels, who, as I said a couple minutes ago, he's been arguably the best rookie quarterback in NFL history. Then you hire Dan Quinn, who he's had experience as a head coach. He took the Atlanta Falcons to the Super Bowl. He was a great defensive coordinator prior to Atlanta. He was the guy in charge of the Legion of Boom in Seattle over there. And then after, his time in Atlanta, he spent the last several seasons in Dallas and completely transformed that defense to being, after they're one of the most mediocre defenses in all of football for a long time. Dan Quinn got in there and completely transformed them to arguably the best in all of football. And now he, it's his first year as a coach in Washington. And he's leading a franchise who, as I said, hasn't been to the conference championship since 1991. And he has a rookie quarterback. But you know what I think? I want to talk about this for a couple minutes here. In terms of Washington, I think Washington, you got to give a lot of credit. Obviously, like I said, Jaden Daniels, Dan Quinn, but then also Adam Peters, the general manager. I think he's done a tremendous job because he's really, when you look at their roster as a whole, he's really done a great job of mixing in young and vets, right? Like young players and veterans. But specifically, what I love with the veterans is not just like, oh, they're veterans and they've been in the league for a while, but he brought in guys that are known as leaders and a couple guys that stand out there that he brought in there have always been leaders. Bobby Wagner, who of course goes back to the Legion of Boom days with Seattle, as he was the head of that linebacking core with those elite Seahawks defenses with Dan Quinn. And then you have Zach Ertz, the longtime Philadelphia Eagles tight end. Actually, oh yeah, look, I hadn't thought of that, going against his former team where, in which he won the Super Bowl with. Yeah, I think Ertz and Wagner specifically, they've always been known as great veteran leaders. And then also Austin Eckler, who they brought in as their, kind of their second running back behind their young Alabama, tailback Brian Robinson. And I think that was another solid pickup to get Austin Eckler in there. And then you look at all the young talent they have. And then little by little, man, you see this defense. I feel like they kind of been hidden this year. Maybe they haven't been talked about in the media or anywhere in terms of football. And I think this Washington defense is one of the best units in all of football. And yeah, that's why I have, the Commanders getting the job done, beating their division rivals, the Philadelphia Eagles, and advancing to their first Super Bowl in a very long time. Now the final game to cover that occurred in this divisional round on Sunday night, we had the Buffalo Bills play host to the Baltimore Ravens, and the Bills came out on top 27-25. In my opinion, I feel like from watching the game, I feel like the Bills were more dominant than what the score says. Like, not trying to take away from Baltimore, they had a great effort in the second half to almost come back and potentially tie the game. But with that said, I feel like Buffalo kind of let a couple things slip, but ultimately they did come out with the W. And someone I really want to credit in Buffalo is Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator. I think he's the first offensive coordinator throughout the Josh Allen era in Buffalo that actually knows how to has actually emphasized the running game and not just simply relying on Josh Allen. When you look at this past game, right, with the Ravens, the way they're able to run the ball is just incredible. It was a perfect mix of Josh Allen and James Cook. James Cook had a tremendous game, and it wasn't just on Josh Allen. I feel like year in and year out, it's always like, oh, Josh Allen will pass, Josh Allen will run, and at a certain point, his body is gonna wear out, and he's not gonna be able to do this anymore. So I think Joe Brady should be credited as arguably the most important X factor in terms of Buffalo having this amazing season and clinching their way into an AFC Championship date with the Kansas City Chiefs. So yeah, Buffalo, obviously great win, but I feel like what Joe Brady's doing is really great. And then obviously for Baltimore, they kind of did what we've come to expect them to do in the playoffs in the Lamar Jackson era. They have a tremendous regular season, they have these flashy games where everyone goes crazy. People fall in love with Lamar, this and that, and then they get to the playoffs, and this is pretty much what always happens. They never really, win the big game or really come through. And that's kind of just how it is, and it's going to continue to be that until they, end up actually winning a big game and changing the narrative. It's on them at the end of the day. I was surprised. I went with Baltimore. I would never really do that. Over the last couple of years, I haven't believed in them at all in the playoffs, and I've believed in Buffalo. But I don't know. I just went with my gut, and I was wrong, obviously. But I felt like Derrick Henry would have been that X factor. But also, when you think of the game plan there, like Derrick Henry wasn't really used, in my opinion, as much as he should have been. And who knows? Perhaps you give credit to Sean McDermott and the defensive staff of Buffalo on that. But yeah, I just felt, Derrick Henry wasn't used enough. Then, yeah, there was just something off about the Ravens. And I mean, I can't say I'm surprised because, like I said, this is kind of what they've come to be in the Lamar Jackson era. Like an amazing regular season team, and then, a pretty bad playoff team. At the end of the day, that's how it's been. And, a lot of people are calling out Mark Andrews, tight end of the Ravens. He dropped a potential game-tying 2-point conversion with a little over a minute left to go in the game, and ultimately, ended the Ravens season. But to all the people criticizing him, the Ravens wouldn't be anywhere near the position they ended up being in without Mark Andrews. This guy had a super slow start to the season, the worst start of his career through, I believe, 5 or 6 games in. Then after week 6 or week 7, he ended the season with 11 touchdowns, leading all tight ends in touchdowns in the NFL. And he's been Lamar Jackson's number one target throughout Lamar's whole career there. So I think Mark Andrews should get more respect. Obviously, look, he didn't come through, and I get it. But at the end of the day, the Ravens wouldn't be nearly even close to where they are without the contributions of Mark Andrews on their team. So I just wanted to make sure to get that in there. But yeah, guys, those are my thoughts, on the divisional round. As I said, I had the Commanders beating the Eagles this Sunday in Philly for the NFC Championship. And for the AFC Championship, Bills against Chiefs, I do have Kansas City. I'm sticking with my Super Bowl pick. I have Kansas City winning the Super Bowl as well. But yeah, I have Kansas City defeating Buffalo. I think it'll be a good game, I'm predicting a pretty close game. But with that said, I just have Kansas City coming through again. I just think Andy Reid, Steve Spagnuolo, Mahomes, Kelce, all these guys are just ready to go, and they're going to have the right game plan, and they're going to do what needs to be done. And I think they're going to make the bigger play. At the end of the day, they're going to come through and win the game against Buffalo. But I am excited for that game. I think it's going to be super fun to watch, and it's going to be super exciting. And yeah, with all that said, those are my thoughts on the NFL playoffs right now. All right, guys, now to talk really quickly about, the Jimmy Butler, Miami Heat trade saga or drama, whatever you want to call it. Just to give a little update. So Jimmy returned to action after serving his 7-game suspension. Last Friday night, I was here in Miami. Actually, I was in attendance at the game with my dad. We went up against the Denver Nuggets, and I wanted to be there, obviously, to support the team. They had been on the road from January 4th all the way to the 16th, and this game was on the 17th, so I was like, let's go watch the game. And also I wanted to see the dynamic because I knew Jimmy would be there and be playing. And I just have to say, from being there in person, it was terrible. It was just a weird energy, a weird vibe. I was like towards the left of the Heat bench, so I had a pretty good view throughout the whole game, and you could just tell the vibes were off. It was super disrespectful during the starting lineup introductions at the arena. Jimmy, he was just standing in a corner. When they called his name, he didn't even walk. He had already just been standing in a corner. And pretty much throughout the game, when they're on the bench or in timeouts and stuff, everyone would be like huddled up in a group, and he'd be like sitting by himself. People would celebrate right on the bench. They're not playing, but they would stand up and cheer for their guys and stuff, and he'd just be sitting there. Then after that, we played on Sunday against San Antonio. I wasn't there. I watched on TV. And then what was it? Tuesday night. They played again at home and they got killed by Portland. But I wasn't able to watch that game in general, like on TV. But I did see pictures and I heard stories from reporters and stuff that were in the building. And it was just disgusting to see Jimmy. There's a picture going around from 5 Reasons Sports on Twitter. And basically, it's the whole team during a timeout, all huddled up together, and then Jimmy's just sitting in a corner by himself on the bench. And another thing that was super rude of Jimmy, that he continues to add on to all the disrespect he's thrown towards the Heat. Yesterday, he wore colors that were Phoenix Suns color. I mean, he wore shoes that were Phoenix Suns colors. And by this point, if you don't know, Jimmy just wants to go to Phoenix. The whole anywhere but Miami quote was all BS and him trying to, disrespect the Heat basically. But we all know his intention is to get to Phoenix because that's the only team that's willing to pay him. And the fact that he wore their shoe colors yesterday was super disrespectful. And another thing I didn't mention about Friday night, like his first game back, and he showed up to the arena in a Michael Jordan jersey and he wore it in the locker room while talking to the media after the game. I also thought that was super disrespectful to be wearing a Chicago Bulls jersey while you're playing for the Miami Heat. But it's what Jimmy continues to do, and I just can't wait to the day that this finally ends and we're able to move on and focus on the guys who actually want to be here in Miami and help the Heat compete for a championship. And another thing to mention, it's pretty, prominent in terms of this Jimmy situation, the Phoenix. Tuesday night or Tuesday afternoon, I forgot what time, the Suns made a trade. They traded their 2031 first-round pick to Utah, I believe, and they acquired 3 first-round picks. So that's super significant in terms of a trade being able to happen here. So, I'll be sure to update you guys as to what happens. If a trade does occur prior to next week's episode, make sure to stay tuned on Instagram at @theflame_ES and on YouTube, our YouTube channel, The Flame Entertainment and Sports. I'll be sure to post at least a short, give you my instant reaction if a trade does break before, next week's recording. So, yeah, guys, it's going to wrap it up here in the sports world. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, if you guys have any thoughts or anything you want to send my way regarding the NFL playoffs or anything about Jimmy Butler, send them over on Instagram at @theflame_ES. And, I'd be happy to hear what you guys think about these different topics within the sports world. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Flame Entertainment and Sports. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a fun time recording as always, getting into some entertainment topics with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, as well as talking about, Taylor Swift. And then it was fun as always as well, diving into the football world where we covered, the divisional round of the playoffs, gave our predictions for this coming Sunday's, conference championship games. And then, we gave a little update about the Jimmy Butler situation here in Miami with the Miami Heat. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Once again, make sure to keep up with us on social media, on Instagram and TikTok at @theflame_ES. Thank you all again for tuning in. Thank you for the love, on Instagram as well. I really appreciate it. And with all that said, till next time, everyone, take care.